Hi, I'm Mike Smith-Gonzalez.
And I'm Bill Gestalter. We're with Gage Associates, a full-service gauging company.
And we'd like to partner with you with any of your gauging needs. Gage proudly presents the following video. Hi, I'm Mike with Gage, and I want to show you a product solution. This is a customized gauge station. It's meant for shop floor use to gather your data from various different inputs to give you various outputs for SPC or for reactions to your gauging problems. It's also meant to collect that data. So first I'm going to talk about the PC. This is an industrial PC. It has an IP65 rated screen. It's fanless, so it's meant for the shop floor. This can come between a 15-inch all the way to a 32-inch. It does have wireless capability, or it can be Ethernetted. It is a touch screen. It can also, in certain applications, we can accommodate a tablet, depending on what the situation is and how the use may be. So I'm going to show you a few different softwares and a few different tools out here. I wrote a couple programs, but this is just to give you some information to call us, and we will help you figure out your solution that is applicable for you. So first off, I am going to show you the Merlin from Marpause, the Merlin Plus software. It is a simple yet very effective tool. It's very capable of attribute gauges, which is plugs, threads, things like that. It's capable of taking wireless data from gauges, and it's capable of LVDT and air gauging. So in particular, this particular program is touch screen, and you can see here, I'm going to make sure we're ready and running the right one. You'd pick this and hit measure, and the first thing that pops up is my screen. In this case, I'm going to be measuring this part, just a simple part with a few features that I've highlighted to use. So when I hit the start button here, I'm going to use a mouse just to make so my hands aren't in the screen. You'd hit the start button. You can have several different options here for traceability. First one is who the operator is, which is either an admin or an operator mode. Then you can have machine identification, you can have serialization. We've hooked these up with a barcode scanner so that you can scan a barcode of a part for traceability. And this would all be captured in the data file. In this case, you would just highlight this area. And I'm going to show you another product that we like to use, and that is a shop floor keypad. What this is it's meant for the shop floor. It's customizable. In this case, I'm going to hit 12, and it'll change real quick when I hit it, but when I hit 12, it entered that 12 number into that data file, and now it goes into live measurement. So in this case, I'm going to use a Marpause LVDT probe inside of a bore head to measure the ID of this part. So if you notice, this can go from red, yellow, and green. Those are all customizable depending on your specification. You can change the control limits if you want to use yellow as your control limits or your spec limits for the red. But if you notice, I'm slowly touching these probes, and it will change in and out from green to yellow to red. So I'm going to measure the part. Slip the part into the piece, and I would touch the screen. In this case, I'm going to hit the mouse, and it's going to move to the next measurement. This would normally be a mic, but just for simple purposes, I'm using a LVDT probe inside of a bore head here. So when I hit start, you'll notice I can adjust it to go yellow to whatever your measurement would be when you measured. This is the next feature that I really think is neat on this software, is the ability to do attribute gauging. Attribute gauging has always been a pain in the industry. You have to collect it for gauge R&Rs. You have to collect it. Most of the time you have to put that on paper. Then you got the problem of interpreting pass from fail or pass from reject. Somebody writes a P, but it looks like an R, so the interpretation. Well, this gets rid of that. So if you watch, when I click this is a really cool feature. So it comes up with a whole block that asks them for a green thumbs up or a red thumbs down. which I think is a really neat because it handles the color issue and it handles, everybody knows the thumbs up and thumbs down for good and bad. So, and now I'm going to highlight another item for you, and that is these two buttons right here on the table. These are meant for shop floor, can be put out there. These buttons, if I hit this green, it's going to mark the green and it'll go there. If I hit the red, it's going to mark it red. So let's measure the part. This was the plug gauge. So I'm going to put the plug gauge in here, and oh look, the green goes, the red doesn't. So this is a good part. I hit the green button, it recorded it as green. Now it's switching me to the thread gauge. So we hit the start button again, and now it asks us to check it. So we check it, it's good. So again, we can either touch the screen, use the mouse, or I can hit the green button, and it recorded it as green. Now the next feature that's kind of cool on this is it also takes, I'm just doing a simple caliper check. So, and this is a wireless one. This is another problem out on the shop floor is that how do you record a measurement using a set of calipers or a set of mics or something like that? So what this is this is a transmitter on the back here with a little transmit button on the top. And what we have back here is the universal micro ridge base station for receiving the information. I should mention that this transmitter is actually the U-Wave from Mitsutoya, just because it's a nice clean fit, but there's a lot of different options in this way. The micro ridge will accept the U-Wave. So when I hit the start button here, you'll see I can input it manually, or in this case, I can push the button and it will record the value. And if you look, there's the value that it recorded right there. Now, before I hit the stop, I want to talk about all this data is collected for you to use in the SBC. What I've got set up that's going to pop up next on the screen is another software that is called a reaction plan manager. This is where you get to take the engineer's brain and utilize some of that information that's non-existent on the shop floor for the operator to help them determine if there's a need to make an adjustment, or what the adjustment should be, or what tool it should be that the adjustment is. Again, this is a fully customized solution, so there's a lot of different options here, but this is meant to take that and help you help your operators. So when I hit this finish button, as you'll see, there's going to be something that pops up here in a second. It's called Reaction Plan Manager. It's from Becker Quality Solutions, and in this case, it's reporting that everything was good. You'll see it gives me a graph here of the plug gauge telling me where it's seen it, the last X number of them, which that's customizable as well. It's going to tell me about the bore and the trend that it's seen out of the bore. But you notice it's telling me it's green as well. And it's giving me the picture of the part. Arrows, again, customizable to show you what feature you were just checking and where it's related to. And if you notice down here, this is the tool I associated it to. So now if you watch, I'm going to click the other tool and you're going to see this change. So now it changed to a different view to show me the thread gauge as it's seen it, and also now the thickness that I called it and what it's been trending like. And then you'll see all the different machine numbers. Again, this is our demo unit, so I've done a lot of different demos. So you'll see that there's a bunch of different machines I've recorded with this. I also wanted to mention that in this, I only had a few items highlighted, but I want to show you a few other items. So even a surface finish gauge can be used and inputted into that software. There's also different color buttons. There is electronic bore gauges with regular indicators in them that can be used as outputs. There's also, Marpause makes a wireless version of a bore gauge that can be used. A badge reader can be used as well, and also just a air fork and a regular air gauge that will be changed from analog to digital. So now I want to talk about another solution using a different set of software. This software is from ProLink. It's one of their many varieties. This is called the Gage Station software. So immediately you can set up a spec plan, is what it's called, and you would double click your spec plan and it would open your spec on what you're going to measure. In this kind, you can give instructions, you can link to control plans, FEMAs, work instructions, or you can put your notes in here. So like right now, I click in this box and I can use the industrial keypad again. I'm gonna say this is machine number 11. It gathers that, moves it over. Now it's gonna ask me to measure the OD. I actually put a little graphics in here. It gives you what I'm gonna measure. And in this case, it's asking me for the OD, so I'm gonna use the electronic calipers. I'm gonna measure. You see the measurement. I hit the send button. It filled in right there, moves to the next. The instruction changed, tells me what I'm gonna measure now. In this case, it's gonna tell me to measure the ID. So I'll move the calipers in, make a measurement, hit the transmit button. It sends it over. I also, just for extra input, I'm doing a calculation in here called wall thickness between the OD and ID. So it's automatically a formula calculating that wall thickness. Next, I'm gonna go to, again, attribute gauging, which is always the pain of getting that data electronically. I can't stress this enough. Paper is so unreliable. They get it wet, they get it dirty. You can't read a P from an R, from a P from an F. So again, we're gonna capture it electronically. In this case, it's asking me for, it does ask me for the thread gauge first. So I'm gonna check the thread gauge, it fails. So I'm gonna hit the red button again, and it puts fail and highlights it pink in the block. And then it's gonna ask me for the plug gauge. It's gonna show me a picture of where I need to go again as a work instruction. I'm gonna use the go. Oh, it's good. I'm gonna hit the green button and it'll fill in green. In this particular one, I set this spec plan up to do 5 readings before it goes over, but you can set this as 1, you could stop at 1. So I'm just gonna stop it as 1. And when I do that, it's gonna fire up the reaction plan manager, because this one can also output to reaction plan manager. So when I hit finish, it's gonna ask me to send only the completed parts. I say yes. And now I wanna also highlight another feature that can be utilized with this, and that is the reaction plan manager software. You could have this at a gauge station, and then you can have it being sent out to an operator station, because some of the software can even be used on CMMs. Well, okay, the operator drops off a part to the CMM, they measure it, but now somebody's got to go out there, or the person's got to come back to see if the measurements were good, bad, or whatever. Well, with Reaction Plan Manager, one of the other features you can do is set up an operator stand. So it will send out to the shop floor on another monitor out there how the results were from the measurement, whether this is CMM, the gauge station. Again, you'll see my machine number 11. You'll see the flag that's the new item that was just sent out right here. And you'll see again, that part, the OD, wall thickness, ID. If it was green, you'll see the historical a little bit here. And then you'll also see that I set up the tools again to say these features were done by this tool, these features were done by that tool, and you notice I failed one, so that's why this is pink or red down here at the bottom. And when you click it, now you'll see the other 2 that I said were associated to tool 12. And you'll see that this one says it's out of tolerance, adjust by X number. Again, the reason this is useful is because this takes that engineer's brain and you can now make some adjustments, because just a quick simple one is circle interpretation of creating a diameter. We all, out in the industry, we all know that it's not a 1-to-1 move. It's usually about a 0.6 of the move. So if I need a thousandths moved, I really don't need a thousandths. I need 0.6 of a thousandths moved on to adjust that diameter. If I make a thou move, it could take me the other way depending on what my tolerance is. So again, the Reaction Plan Manager software lets you take that engineer's brain to put some of that in there and even tell them how much to adjust it by, what tool it's associated to, and you can also make it that it doesn't even show if it's good. You can click up in the top right-hand corner, you can adjust this to where you have show me everything, like I've got all of them checked, or I can say, you know what, I only want to know when it's bad. So I'm going to take that check mark off, and it's only going to show me when something's bad. So there is a few different options here, and it's fully customizable on what you're doing. The only thing I haven't covered yet as well is in the background of the gauge station, there is the control charts. This is the software QC real time that's running in the background. And this will be where you will see, and I'm gonna make it bigger for us, you'll see the past history of the OD measurements that I've made. You'll see the ID, you'll see wall thicknesses, you'll see the plug gauge, you'll see the thread gauge. You'll see, you can click on a point and it would, you could go look at exactly what the measurements were at that point if you needed to. You could say it's a mishit. You could, there's a lot of stuff in this SPC software that too much to go into a quick overview, but this is what's also included in the gauge station. Okay, they do make this, which is the QC Calc, in an SPC only version, which is what you'd use on your CMMs and other outputted devices to gather data so that you can run SPC.